Hi, boys and girls, and welcome to another week of learning. So last week we spent time on graphing, pictographs and bar graphs. And this week we're going to go back and start working with fractions. Now we did some of this before you left and before you started schooling from home. So I'm hoping it's going to be a review for you. So some important things to remember about fractions is all our parts have to be equal, and we determine our unit by counting the number of equal parts. So sometimes we use fraction strips, but we can also represent fractions on number lines. And that's what this review is here today. So we have 5 number lines here, and we are going to place the correct fraction in the box below each number line. So I'm going to kind of think out loud like a third grader and walk you through each one of these. I may pause so you have time to maybe think about your answer and see if you would come up with the same answer as I would. So directions for each number line below, determine which fraction belongs in the box. Now it's important to note that our fractions, or I should say our endpoints on our number line, are 0 and 1. So how many wholes is that? That is 1 whole. And so we look at how many equal parts are in 1 whole. And I can see one here. It's 1, 2 equal parts, 3 equal parts, 4 equal parts. So 4 equal parts means that my unit is fourths. And so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to write a fraction at each, well, I guess I won't write a fraction at each part. This would be 0/4. This would be 1/4. This would be 2/4, and right here would be 3/4. So we're just counting each unit, just like you would with a number line. If these weren't units or fractions, we would just count 1, 2, 3, 4. It works just like a regular number line does. The further away from 0 you get, the bigger your fraction is. And so that, boys and girls, is really all that you have to do in order to identify a fraction on a number line. So let's go on to number 2. First thing we're going to do again is look at our endpoints 0 and 1. And then I'd like you to go ahead and look at the worksheet and see if you can count the number of equal parts in that whole. Okay, let's count them together. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There are 7 equal parts, so that means my unit is sevenths. And now I'm going to start counting from 0. So this would be, I'm going to write it in here, this would be 0/7. And I'm not going to write all the rest of them because we really only have to fill out the one that's in the empty box. So 0/7, 1/7, 2/7, 3/7. This would be 4/7. And then let's continue counting 5/7, 6/7, 7/7. And remember, 7/7 is written like this. And we know that's 1 whole because we can think of that as a division sentence. 7 divided by 7 equals 1. All right, look at the next one. Count your number of equal parts. Again, there are 3 equal parts. So that means thirds. Again, I'm going to label my first one as 0/3. And another thing that we want to get in the habit of doing that Mrs. Reed forgot about is boxing our whole number fractions. So I can go back and box these in the one above too. This is a whole number fraction. A whole number fraction is simply a fraction that is at the place of a whole number on a number line. All right, so if this is 0/3, we can count again, 0/3, 1/3. This would be 2/3. And our last one would be 3/3. And I feel good about that because 3/3 is the same as 1 whole. 3 divided by 3 equals 1. Okay. Number 4. Go ahead and count those parts. We count them together. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Notice when I count, I'm not counting the tick marks. I'm counting the spaces in between. Those are the equal parts. So if I have 6 equal parts, my unit is 6. And here I would have 0/6. And I'll box that because that's a whole number fraction standing for the whole number 0, representing the whole number 0. This would be 1/6, 2/6. This would be 3/6. 4/6, 5/6, 6/6. And again, I'll box this one because it's the whole number fraction that stands for the whole number 1. 6 divided by 6 equals 1. And then the last one is pretty easy. 2 equal parts. My unit is, that's right, my unit is halves. So I could write 0 halves here. And then this part would be 1/2. And then last but not least, we'd have 2 halves. Again, it's a whole number fraction. 2 divided by 2 equals 1. And I can go over here and 0 divided by 2 equals 0. So the division sentence works for fractions as long as you've got whole numbers. All right. So boys and girls, that's really all fractions on a number line is. Counting the number of equal parts, determining your unit, and then starting at 0 and counting on. Thank you very much. You'll get some independent practice on this in your next worksheet.